this is Greg Bissonette from the David Lee Roth Band and surviving drummer for Spinal Tap. You're listening to the only podcast that broke down the entire Van Halen discography and is now moving on to the solo catalogs. And the podcast will rock.
What is up, all you rockers, rockettes, and everything in between? Thank you for joining us for a new edition of And the Podcast Will Rock. Welcome back to the show, everyone. We're in season 4 or season 29. If you follow Kevin Brown rules, don't follow those rules. Just follow our rules. Season 4, the new phase, new edition. We are 2 weeks into it now. This will be the second week of the new edition of the show. So we're happy to have you. Welcome back. If you're new to the show, by some chance you found us, welcome. And we were the show that went into the catalog, the discography of Van Halen, one track at a time, and we've accomplished that. So now we are going through Sammy Hagar, David Lee Roth, Mammoth WVH, Extreme, you name it. The wheel seems like it's got a never-ending supply, but you can actually, I'm excited about this wheel. I was excited about last week, and I'm excited about this week, so you never know what we are going to get. I am your co-host, Mark Kamier. With me, as always, Corey Morissette. Corey, did you feel good about last week, and are you feeling really good about this week?
I felt good last week because I polished off like half a bottle of whiskey during that show. I think I went off on Guy Fieri's Nepo Kid at one point in the show. I don't remember 100%.
I recall a rant, if you will, on Hunter Fieri.
Fuck that guy. But to peel back the curtain a little bit, we had to wait a little bit for Mr. Mark Kamier because, you know, he's a rock star and he had rehearsals tonight and stuff. So he's a little bit later. So I'm about another half bottle in. So who knows what the fuck I'm going to say this week. All I know is last week I also talked about Sammy Hagar in Toronto. I know since then some friend of ours, Johnny Bean, and our good buddy and patron Josh Caldwell got to go see Sammy a couple nights ago. And Josh was kind of messaging me on Facebook throughout the whole show. And he has a great review of the concert on Discord. He talked about getting emotional at times during the show. And like, good, at least I'm not the only blubbering, white guy, middle-aged white guy at these concerts. For him, it was because the experience kind of took him back to when he was a kid and he saw Van Halen for the first time. To me, it's because I'd never heard those songs live before, and I got to see Sammy and Mikey and one of the greatest guitar players of all time live and in person. It was pretty fucking impressive. So very happy for Johnny and for Josh, and the tour rolls on, and it's been real popular. And when we get to Van Halen news, we're gonna talk a little bit about some news that our good buddies at the Bogus Otis show broke from their interview with Sammy before the Toronto concert.
Look, it's okay whether you're a middle-aged white guy or not. It's okay to feel things, and it's definitely okay to feel things when Sammy Hagar and Michael Anthony and all those guys are coming at you with the feels. Maybe it's a bit of nostalgia that's playing a part there, or maybe it's just you were feeling it. The energy was palpable. I can imagine, based on the story you told, it must have been high energy. And I imagine for Josh, it was that as well. And such high energy can change you. It can move you. It can make you feel the things that, we try so hard to suppress sometimes. But I'm here to tell you, it's okay to feel. Feel your feelings, be it, it doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter race, creed, or gender, just feel. I can't wait to feel your love tonight. There you go. There's a reference for you.
I know that song.
But yeah, exactly. We covered that song, but we're not talking about that anymore because we've gone through it. But keeping it on track and on brand with Van Halen. Hey, what's going on in the Van Halen news world?
Holy cow. Well, we got a couple of things. Let's go back to our good buddies at the Van Halen news desk. Of course, the legendary Eric Senich writes some stuff for that fine website. Your one-stop shop for all news Van Halen and the Van Halen store. So go check out some merch there. We got a couple of articles here. One, Sammy gave an unfortunate interview to the Las Vegas Review-Journal where he said, Alex Van Halen avoids me because of his book. And he goes off saying, I guarantee you the publisher had that as a clause in Alex's book deal that he'd not talk to Dave or Sammy, which really sounds ridiculous. I imagine Alex just doesn't talk to Sammy because he hates his guts, because Sammy in his book wasn't too kind to the Van Halen brothers, and word was that Alex was really pretty upset about the revelations in that book, and hasn't really talked to Sammy much since, and I imagine he's still carrying that grudge. I don't think it has anything to do with the publishing company telling Alex not to talk to any of the Van Halen frontmen.
No, that's such a tricky thing, because I try to be the guy who does not hold grudges, but I'm going to be real with you all. I do. I hold them, especially if it's you're not supposed to hold grudges over a certain period of time usually. But depending on the person, I tend to hold on to that, just because I don't want to get got again. You know what I mean? Yeah. You don't want to suddenly let your guard down with certain people, because people will take advantage. In this regard, though, and I know Sammy has gone on record many times in the last however many years saying that he loved his time in Van Halen and he loved the brothers. And I guess that's just his way of outwardly expressing, you know what, the past is the past. Let's just move forward. Life's too short. But then again, he might be saying all that just to save face. Maybe deep down, he really is like, well, I would never have any intention of calling Alex because, one, he wouldn't talk to me, but one, what would I say?
Well, also, he says he did when he announced the tour. He said, I reached out to Alex a dozen times. This is an exact quote. I reached out to Alex a dozen times before this tour was announced and got no response. I mean, I've asked him to meet me under any conditions, any circumstances, anytime, any place, anywhere. It's not like, well, let me think about it. It's like no answer, zero. And because that goes back years. I don't think it has anything to do with Alex's book. No. There's probably going to be some unflattering Sammy stuff in the book, I'm thinking, because I think Alex is one of those guys that may hold a grudge too. It's going to be up to Alex, and whenever he wants to kind of, accept that little fig leaf that Sammy's kind of holding out, trying to make peace, which he's been trying to do for a while. He was able to make peace with Ed before he passed, which is really, really good. But Alex has been, they've been pretty frosty between the two of them. So even when Alex was planning the EVH tribute, right, there was no mention of Sammy at all. It was going to be Satriani, right. It was going to be Jason Newsted, and a whole host of folks in David Lee Roth, but not Sammy Hagar. So
that was probably by design.
Oh yeah, and, so there's definitely something in that relationship that's broken. But who knows if that relationship will ever be mended. But I guarantee you it has nothing to do with his fucking book deal.
No, but that said, I'm very curious to read what Alex might have to say about Sammy. And maybe that's why he's ghosting Sammy so hard, is just because he knows how he feels, and he knows that hey, I just wrote a book about our time, and I put some non-flattering things about you. I'd just rather not speak to you directly right now. And sometimes time heals all wounds, but sometimes people just grow apart, and sometimes you don't need the people in your past anymore. They're in the past for a reason. Maybe Alex feels that way, or maybe he just feels that he was scorned so bad that there's no need to bring up any of those old feelings or mend them. Maybe he's thinking, why bother at this point? And also we have to remember, Alex is probably still hurting a lot from the loss, and maybe talking to Sammy would bring up some really bad feelings that he's not ready to discuss, and that's his prerogative. So that's unfortunate, but it is what it is, and I definitely look forward to reading The Spilled Tea.
Yes, it's going to be a great book. Let's go to the chat real quick. David Lassiter, a new patron of ours, is in the chat here tonight. He says, Sammy seems to manufacture a different reason every interview. And it certainly seems that way, because he gets asked that all the time, right? And maybe you just run out of ways of saying the same thing. Jeff Brewer.
Boy, that sounds like someone else we know that maybe sang for Van Halen, who always has a different story for every event. Yeah.
Jeff Brewer says, Sam has admitted before that maybe Al is still mad about the book. Al is probably annoyed that Sam keeps talking about him. Sam also said he doesn't know why Al had to stick up his butt about it. Maybe Sam, because you told a lot of like drunk Al stories in that book that weren't real flattering, and some drunk Ed stories too, especially in the '04 reunion tour that didn't paint the brothers in a very good light. So I'm thinking maybe something like that.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's so I can understand. I don't even need like full context, but I understand just based on that, and that you can't mend certain things, or some people are just not interested in mending them, and that seems to be the case for this one.
Yeah. All right, well, let's go back to the Van Halen news desk. We have an article on Van Halen's Dreams video, the Blue Angels collaboration story. So you can go check that out. But I wanted to jump to this one here real quick. There's a great picture of Mikey, of Ray, of Jason Bonham, Sammy Hagar, and Joe Satriani. Sammy gave a little talk to the Bogus Otis boys. If you listen to the latest show, you get the audio of that interview. I hear they're going to be posting video of that interview coming up very soon. Before they met me, they went backstage and they met Sammy Hagar. And they got to talk to him a little bit. And Sammy actually dropped some news to our good friends, the Bogus Otis boys. One of which is that the next album to get the reissue treatment is going to be Balance.
Ooh.
Because the Bogus Otis boys specifically asked, like, hey, you did that 95 pay-per-view concert from Toronto, from this very venue that you're performing in tonight. Any chance that could be part of a Balance reissue? And Sammy said, well, funny as you could say that, Balance is the next album to get done. And he said, he would, bring that up with the powers that be, that maybe the Toronto 95 concert from the Budweiser stage in Toronto, Ontario would be a good little add-on to put on the Balance reissue. Holy fuck, would that be amazing? That was a great show.
God, that's one we've been clamoring about since we started the early days of our show, just at how Balance could use a reissue. So hey, look at that, it's on the way. Good scoop for the Bogus Otis boys.
Absolutely, but they didn't stop there. No.
Oh,
Sammy Hagar also dropped another little nugget that, there might be some new music coming from this current band. It's too damn good, this band. You got Sammy Hagar, Michael Anthony, Joe Satriani, Jason Bonham, and Ray Thistlethwaite. And he said, I'm going to read verbatim here what Sammy Hagar said about new music. He said, quote, "Yes, I guarantee it. I don't know when and why, because records don't sell. I've made a couple of my best records of my life, the last 2 solo records, and they're lucky to sell 50, 60,000 copies. You go and make a record nowadays just to lose a couple $100,000. It's all good, but I need a tax write-off, so it really helps. I go, look, I made too many this year. Let's go make a record." So we're going to get some new music. One question I was hoping they would ask is, are you ever tempted to record any of these Best of All World show for, a DVD or a CD vinyl release? Put it on an album of these shows. They're fucking amazing.
I guarantee you somebody in their team is recording it. Maybe it's just all video and audio, or but I guarantee you someone has a job, has a task of recording every show. I guarantee you that's a thing.
I know they tape all the video that they put on the screen, like they just roll tape on that, and they usually record off the soundboard too. But I'd love to see like a proper mix, proper release on one of these Best of All Worlds shows, because if you haven't gone, it really is. And you're speaking of the converted here, right? I'm a massive Van Halen fan, so I had the fucking time of my life. But even people like my family, they're not huge Van Halen fans. They had a blast. Wow, the band sounds really great. The songs are catchy. And throw Loverboy on there for a bonus feature, because fuck, they sound great too. Great opening band for him. So I'm really hoping at some point we get a release of these shows, because it's really, really something.
I mean, look, money talks, and as Sammy pointed out, and he's like, "Hey, I gotta." It's like Sammy's well paid based on that statement he made. Is like, oh, he's fine, but a tax write off. That's I love that he's not shying away from like the truth of it. It's like that's just the reality that people in the music industry live in right now. He's right. Nobody buys records anymore. We don't buy them unless you buy them at the show and get them signed or something, or just to have the physical copy. But that, kids, it's very important that you keep your physical media. It really is, because one of these days, I don't know, the grid will shut down or the apps will fall apart, and you'll be like, well, I can't survive without my music. Like, well, then go pick up the CD or the, God forbid, the cassette tape. Nah, maybe not that. Those are probably gone. But pick up a CD or your vinyl. Keep your physical media. That goes for your movies too. I have to imagine, though, that as the tour keeps going and the more success, it seems like the tour has been a huge success so far. If that's the case, then why wouldn't you capitalize on that? Record all all the shows, and you can cherry pick each tracks and then release it as an album, a live album or something. It's probably in their minds. But so I would stay tuned, Corey.
Yeah. I'm going to go to the chat here real quick. Jeff Brewer thinks there will likely have some copyright problems releasing recordings of Van Halen tunes. I would think, if anything,
Maybe.
probably the Dave era. Like, obviously, they have the rights to do any of the Van Hagar stuff. They've been re-releasing the albums, but maybe because they do Ain't Talk About Love, they do Jump, they do Panama. Maybe over those songs there could be a little something, but I don't know. Kevin Brown, I wonder how much say he has over copyright. I mean, he's a co-writer on all his era stuff, so I wonder how they structured that contract. He did promo for the box set release, so.
I mean, these are great questions that we don't know. So I guess,
those 5 or 6 Dave tunes, could be a real sticking point. But that's really all we had for Van Halen news this week.
All right, good stuff. Shout out to the Van Halen news desk as always. Last week, Corey, we spun the new wheel for the first time, and we spun not a Sammy track and not a David Lee Roth track. In fact, we spun the offspring of the great Eddie Van Halen. We spun a mammoth WVH, Wolfgang Van Halen song, Distance, and it was appropriate because this song was let's call it a dedication to his dad. And as we leave the catalog of Van Halen behind and we enter in this new era, that was a very fitting transition. A sad one, to be sure, but fitting, I think. So instead of reading out all the tweets and all the, everything about it, like we have a news system, right, Corey? You want to talk about the news system and which ones you picked out?
Absolutely. Before we get into our 3 stars of the week, I'll just give you the results because we're not just doing a Twitter poll this season. We're also doing a Facebook poll as well. So I combined all the votes from both polls. So we ended up with 74 total votes. The final tally was 68%, just like Paradise, or 68 votes, just like Paradise. 6 votes were Dick in the Dirt, which gives us a grand total of 92%. Just like Paradise, 8% Dick in the Dirt. So a really strong start for Distance. To be in the 90s already right off the hop, that's pretty huge. So kudos to Wolfie on that one. Of course, he performed everything on that when he sang it. You're going to get into our manifestos talking about that one. But last week, I brought up the fact that we're starting something a little new when it comes to all the comments on our different socials. Mark and I are going to sit down, and we're going to look at every comment afterwards. And we're going to pick our 3 stars of the week. The 3 stars are going to get points at the end of the season. Whoever has the most total points is going to get them a little something from the end of the podcast Will Rock merch store. So without further ado, we're going to go to Facebook for our very first comment here. The 3rd star of the week is coming from our good friend Heath McCoy. And not the fact that he was confused by our seasons. It's really not that hard, Heath. You're a smart guy. You're an author. Fuck, I even just said I just listened to the show, yet I have no idea why we're doing the seasons thing, and I explained it in the show, so you clearly didn't pay that much fucking attention. But we picked this comment in particular. He said, "Just listened, loved it. The new season is going to be great. Distance was a somber but fitting and rather poetic kickoff too, saying goodbye to Eddie and the VH portion of the show and moving on to phase 2. Count me in." We're going to give that our 3rd star of the week because I really like his tie-in of the saying goodbye to Eddie and the Van Halen portion of our podcast and moving on to phase 2. So he gets our 3rd star of the week. We're going to go to X for our 2nd star of the week. And this is more about the episode than it is about the song. This is from Trockman5150, who called me out to, did I mention I had a lot of whiskey last week? I got Sammy's age wrong. So he calls me out on that. And if you call me out in a tweet, I'm probably going to pick you as a 3-star because I think I suck at this. So Trockman says, Corey mentioned that Sammy sounded great for a 73-year-old. He's actually 76. I fucked that up. He'll be 77 in October, so he doesn't sound great. He sounds fucking amazing for his age. I couldn't agree more. Mark and I agreed. That's the 2nd star of the week. So that came from X and Trockman5150. Ages are hard, especially when you've had some whiskeys. And I probably have to deal with Kevin Brown that day too, and that always takes a little bit out of me too. So bear with me.
See,
and
always blame Kevin.
Exactly. Speaking of Kevin, I mentioned last week, if you throw a little dig at Kevin Brown, you might get some brownie points. Might get some extra points from at least one judge. Well, it worked this week because Brad Gould is our first star of the week for this comment here. He said on Facebook, "Distance is a wonderful tribute to Ed and first single for Wolfgang. Fantastic solo and impactful lyrics. This track is as great as the height difference between Corey Morissette and Kevin Brown. Hashtag apologies to Kevin. Hashtag 3 stars." That's all it takes, folks. You throw in a height joke with Kevin Brown, you're getting the first star of the week. So that's 3 points for Brad Gould. He's in the lead right now, followed by Trockman 5150 and Heath McCoy. So those are our 3 stars of the week. And now we get to throw it over to the golden voice of the amazing Mark Kmeyer, who's going to go through the mini festos, our lovely patrons who commented on this on the mini festos channel on our Discord server, and what they thought about Distance. Go ahead, Mark.
And for the record, that's Corey's point system about making height jokes. That will not be my system because as a short king myself, I can't make those jokes. So moving on, here we go. From our friend Sean McGinnity at the Sean Geek and Fast Fret podcast. He says, "Those that know Todd and I know about our dad, our former band leader, and the best showman on stage ever. We look up to our pops and miss him every day. This song is so close to home on so many levels. And honestly, the song I skip when I listen to Wolf's first album. It's just so hard to hear him missing his dad, and that it completely breaks me down every single time. Don't get me wrong, this is a great, great song. I'm not downvoting. I'm just re-grieving every single time it comes on." And that is, I mean, yeah, I can imagine so, because Wolfie, I mean, he lays it all out there for you. I mean, the song is pretty direct. I think we talked about that. He's like, he's not pulling the Sammy Hagar or even the David Lee Roth of kind of dancing around metaphors, or it's not directly on the nose, but you know what it's about, and it's very clear, and it's very emotionally heartfelt. You feel it in the music. We talked about that. You definitely feel it in the lyrics, because he's painting that word portrait of what's going on in his brain. And if you have a very close relationship, with your father and son relationship specifically, because that's relevant. Like Sean and Todd, yeah, I can imagine so. I can imagine anyone. This is like, here's a question. Is this the new Cat's Cradle?
Well, that's about a different kind of loss.
I know. I'm kidding. But yeah, just the whole, like the son and dad aspect of it. So
we had a lot of people in our chat last week talking about how impactful that song was for them. Like a few people said, I played this when my brother passed. I played this when my dad passed. Like it's very relatable.
I wasn't ready. I wasn't prepared for that. It's like I hadn't heard the song prior, and then that's the first thing we spin, and it's like, okay. And then I'm in a transitional phase behind the scenes as well. So I mean, so not that song hits too close to home for me, but I can see a moment where it might, just to, give you an idea. So I feel you, Sean, and I feel you, Todd. Much love, and thank you for your manifesto. Let's see. Kevin Brown, speaking of short kings, Kevin Brown says, "It's a fine song. It's moving. It's entirely fitting in a strange way, that it was the first wheel spin of the new season. Yes. Is it top shelf Wolfie? Not for me. Is it a song I'm going to put on a playlist or spin up? Nope. I find it's decidedly average compositionally, musically, rhythmically, and melodically. It's just carried by a very sincere, emotional lyric that's sung beautifully. A very tender piece of catharsis that Wolfie likely needed, and I'm glad it's on the album, but not a song I'm likely to listen to outside that album. Hashtag JLP for the sentiment alone." So just like Paradise. Okay, so you had me going there for a second, Kevin. You're just like, oh, this it's a fine song, it's average, but I am gonna upvote it. And it's like, well, okay, well, don't break your arm lifting up your thumbs up for that one, because it felt like you were straining. I don't know that I agree with that assessment. though, Corey. Kevin says that Distance is a bit mediocre musically and rhythmically. And is it simple? Sure. Sometimes less is more, though. Some of the biggest pop songs of the modern age have nothing to them, nothing whatsoever. Sometimes that's okay, and then sometimes that's not okay. In this case, I think it's perfectly okay. I don't really find it all that simple. I think it's a lot more. There's a lot more happening in that song than maybe on the surface. What do you think, Corey? Do you agree with Kevin's assessment?
Fuck no, he's British. Like, you got to take everything he says with a grain of salt because he's British and they're just so weird over there. You know, they have their military standing outside of palaces with giant fucking fur hats on, and you know they're not allowed to crack a smile or anything or react when somebody farts in front of them. It's the dumbest thing ever. So you got to consider shit like that when you're thinking about Kevin Brown. He's looking at it a little too, he's really trying to. He's ultimate catalog clashing it, if you will. He's really trying to break it down. Whereas sometimes you just got to let a song let the emotion kind of carry it for you. I thought the guitars elevated it past that. I thought the vocals elevated it past that. And even the lyrics are simple lyrics, but they're incredibly impactful and profound. And not just because you know of Wolfgang and his relationship with his dad, but because you're a human being and you feel and you've had situations like that too. So don't listen to the British guy.
I agree. Yeah, even if you didn't have the context of, hey, this song is about, Wolfgang Van Halen's dad, Eddie. It's just like, no, even if you didn't know that, I think it's still pretty impactful. But nevertheless, though, that's Kevin's, it's his perspective and fine. We can respect it while disagreeing wholeheartedly with it.
Boo that man. Boo him.
Boo. You think those furry-headed guards piss themselves because they can't move and they can't go relieve? Do they just stand there?
What an ineffectual military. Make sure you stand there and don't fucking move. So yeah, you got to shit yourself. And then what if somebody attacked the queen? Fuck, they'd have to run around with a load in their pants. It's brain dead. Everything about that whole fucking country.
They're just outside the gates and they're just standing in puddles and people the tourists are walking by why are they just standing in puddles? What's with those puddles? It's he pissed themselves because they can't move.
Exactly.
So it's super bad for you to hold it. So what are you going to do? The irony is they've soiled the royal attire, so they have to change or maybe they get fired. I don't know.
What's with the hats? How does that help you militarily? You got these giant fur hats on.
Those hats are so damn dumb.
I know, right?
They're so stupid. Anyway, but more on that later. Scott Monroe, though, the Manifesto King, says, actually, it's pretty short for him. Distance is a cathartic anthem for anyone grieving the loss of a loved one. It was for me. The solo is sonic sobbing, even as the outro lifts you up to a place of hope. And though we know who Wolf is singing about, his lyrics are ambiguous and universal. We'll be okay. Hashtag just like paradise. That furthering the point that we just made. Yeah, it's even if you didn't have the context, I think lyrically it really paints a picture. And then musically, yeah, it is kind of like sonic sobbing, especially that solo. And we talked about that when he goes down the neck and he hits that real high note and he's just, he's just fast picking it. It sounds like a literal wail, and because that's what it is. One could even say perhaps that's Wolfie's just letting his heart express itself through music, which is what every musician tries to do. Sometimes we don't succeed. I think Wolfie's succeeding in this one. So good shit there. That'll do it for the Manifestos on Discord.
Thank you very much. I got to apologize to Dan Papadopoulos in the chat. He says, I'll say it again about Distance. Too much fucking perspective. I downloaded the clip and I didn't get it on my Roadcaster. I got really busy at work. No excuse. I just suck. I'm like a British fucking guard at Buckingham Palace. I just suck. So my apologies. I'll have that for you very soon. Jeff Brewer points out the song has a very simple and straightforward structure, which again is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's just a simple, straightforward subject. Dan again says, doesn't the subject matter of Distance lend itself to a simple and straightforward structure? Flash and balls just wouldn't be appropriate. Very good point.
No, yeah, I would not like flashing balls in the song Distance.
Kevin Brown might.
He might.
Saying.
But, well.
He's a weird little British dude. I noticed he's not in the chat anymore, so I must have offended him. He must have just taken off.
He took off.
He put on his giant fur hat and he's pouting out by his moat.
Come back, Kevin. We'll be nice. But
well, I guarantee nothing. But anyway, what do you say, Mark? It's time, I believe. This is usually your part. I'm going to try it here, though. Let's see if it works. It's time for Grab Your Drinks, ladies and gentlemen. Manifestations. That's right. What do you guys want to hear tonight?
See, that's the difficulty about this wheel, is that we have so many things to choose from, and so many of the choices I'm unfamiliar with, so I can't really manifest something to talk about if I don't know it. So instead, what I decided to do is kind of go through the albums, look at the tracks, and go, okay, what seems like just on the surface, because I'm purposely not listening to it ahead of time. What seems like on the surface it might be something worth talking about. So we do have. I am going to manifest a Sammy Hagar track. That's right. I am not going to do the one that was suggested. Instead, I'm going to do Amnesty is Granted. That's what I'm going to manifest. For all I know, it's not a good song, or it could be a great song. I don't know, but I don't know it. I'm just looking at the tracks. I'm looking at that. I said, that one sticks out to me. So we might be in for a really nice surprise or horror. Corey, what do you want to manifest tonight?
Well, I'm going to do mine last because I got a little caveat on mine. A little dedication for mine.
Okay. Well, then let me just go on over to Discord.
Okay.
And see what everybody's manifesting.
Got some good ones here this week.
There's a lot. I'm trying to see. Let's see. Okay.
I believe Chad is first with Both Sides Now.
Both Sides Now from Chad. Yeah, he wants Both Sides Now. Brad Gould wants, he said, I'm feeling some Tobacco Road today. Well, if that's the case, then just go stop at a Come and Go and pick up a Marlboro Red.
That's right.
Scott Monroe says, would you do it for free?
The answer is yes. Oh, no, that's a song, though, actually.
The answer is yes and maybe in terms of the song. So we'll find out. Josh wants a Decadence Dance.
Yes, sir. That'd be awesome.
There we go. What's that one? Why did I not think about that? It was like, well, Sean McGinnity said, when I first kissed you off pornography.
It's a good deep cut from that one. It's kind of a different track off Pornography, so I kind of dug that manifestation.
And of course, Sean, him manifesting extreme doesn't shock me. Jeff Brewer says, I'll go with Going Crazy this week. It has a cornball video and the keyboards are forgettable, but the guitar part is cool. And it probably has my favorite Steve Vai solo. So he's ready. He's ready to get down on that. Kevin Brown, of course, is manifesting Leaving the Warmth of the Womb. And he says, because I cannot wait for you guys to dig into that one. And that is the aforementioned track that I chose to absolutely not manifest because I don't know the song. The title is not great. That's not a great start. It's probably just the fact that Kev wants us to do it so bad probably tells me it's a garbage track, and I'm not looking forward to that. So, but
what I like about that is right now Kevin Brown is preparing his case in Rock Court for who is the better lyricist, Sammy Hagar or David Lee Roth. He's representing Sammy, so I imagine he actually did a lot of homework on that track. So
I hope he did, and I hope if it happens to whenever we do land on it, I hope he's not steering us wrong, but I don't know. I am inclined to agree with Josh Caldwell, who called him an agent of chaos.
Yes, sir.
Let's see here. Dan wants Going Crazy. Chaz Mataz, our buddy Chaz Charles, also wants Going Crazy. And then CBJ 5150, and that is
could be Connor Burton. CB,
is that Connor?
Could be, yeah.
CBJ, yeah. I think that's Connor. If that's you, Connor, apologies. But he wants Big Trouble.
Nice.
So there you go. And how about you, sir?
Well, first I'm going to go to the chat. Kevin Brown is stirring up shit again. First of all, he said Corey would do anything for free, but he won't do that. Fuck you. I'll do anything for free. No, I would do that, asshole. No, he's talking about Dan had mentioned, doesn't subject matter distance lead itself to a simple, straightforward structure? Kevin says, definitely, but you can make simple really interesting. I just find it unremarkable musically, which is unfortunate because I definitely would disagree with that. So now, time for my manifestation. And just a few days ago, Mark, as we record this, we lost a kind of a rock legend, a glam rock legend anyway, in Jack Russell, lead singer from Great White, one of my favorite bands when I was growing up. So I was sitting there and I was thinking, what would be a track that Jack Russell could just fucking knock out of the park, out of everything on the wheel? So I'm thinking, it's got to be a Dave song, because I bet you Jack could do Dave really, really well. And I kind of gravitated towards Ladies' Night in Buffalo. I think Jack Russell would have absolutely slayed Ladies' Night in Buffalo. That would have been really, really great to hear. Unfortunately, we're never going to get to, but that's what I'm going to manifest here tonight in honor of the one and only Jack Russell from Great White.
Hell yeah, good stuff. Well then, if everyone in the chat's ready to do this, if you're ready, Corey, then how many? Oh, actually, we got to prime it.
We got to prime it. That's right. We have 8 people in the chat, so I'm going to shuffle this 8 times. 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. All right, Sammy Hagar's warmed up. He's ready to rock. Let's do this thing. Oh my God, it's the song I manifested last week. The Yogi So High, I'm Stoned by Sammy Hagar. I manifested that damn thing last week. Never heard it, based solely on the title.
Well, then you know what's going to happen next week. If this is going to be a continuous pattern, that's hilarious. And I'm very, very sad that my lady's not here to join us for this one, because I feel like she'd get a kick out of it.
Tell you what, it's a Sammy song, though, Mark. You got to be happy with that.
I'm cautiously optimistic because, look, as much as you guys know, and I have said it ad nauseum that, like, I'm a Sammy guy, particularly his run in Van Halen. However, our journey through this show has proven, as much as it pains me, that not a lot of Sammy tracks, lyrically, are his best work. And I just don't know, because I have not heard of this one about him being stoned. The last time I heard about Sammy being stoned, we were wham bamming in Amsterdam. So I don't know what to think about this one. Corey, without tipping your hand, how do you feel about this? What can you tell me about this track?
I can't tell you much. I don't have a ton on Marching to Mars. Unfortunately, I'm sure everybody in the comments are going to rip me, and that's cool. We're not experts, and I haven't heard this album. They know. Yeah. I know on this record, you're going to hear Sammy Hagar on lead vocals, Denny Carmassi on drums, Jonathan Pierce on bass. Slash does some work on this, as does Roy Rogers, slide guitar, and dobro. You get a little Huey Lewis harmonica on this record, on the track "Little White Lie" specifically. You really get a lot of like cool musicians on this. For this song in particular, the Yogi So High, I'm Stoned, you get lead vocals and guitar, Sammy Hagar, Danny Carmassi on drums, Jonathan Pierce on bass, and keyboards and background vocals by Jesse Harms. So Sammy's the lone guitar player on this one. My goodness. I have no idea what to expect. This is written solely by Sammy Hagar. It's track 9 on Marching to Mars. I want to go to the chat here real quick, see what people are saying. Kevin Brown, very happy we're getting some Red Rocker here tonight, so he's happy. David Laster laments the fact that we were so close to going crazy. We just missed going crazy. We just missed Stone from Mammoth, Bump and Grind from David Lee Roth, and Get the Funk Out from Extreme. We're right there as well. Scott Monroe says, it's the spiritual sequel to Amsterdam. So there you go, Mark. That might be good for you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, now my optimism has grown a little bit, because I have a ball listening to Amsterdam. So if this is the spiritual sequel, as it were, then I'm on board. So let's just hope Sammy doesn't let me down.
Kevin Brown says Sammy is the Selena Steinbeck, whatever that means.
I feel like I should know that name, but I'm not understanding the reference. Sorry, Kev.
Yeah, had he said San Dimas, I would have been on board because that's, of course, where Bill and Ted went to school. Jeff Brewer says, this doesn't sound like it's going to be a lyrical gem. And I'm kind of hoping not. We haven't used the dick in the dirt button yet. This is only episode 2, so we'll find out. Dan in the chat says, I'll say this as preview for Mark. Season 4 is 2 for 2 so far, spinning down-tempo songs. So there you go.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So a spiritual sequel to Amsterdam, but we're toning it down a bit for this one. Interesting.
Apparently, yeah.
Maybe is it because Sammy was actually stoned recording this and it just everything had to slow down? Because he even put it in the title in parentheses. Hey, I'm stoned. It's like he had to let us know. I wonder if he did. We'll find out when we listen to it, but I wonder if he did that as a way of like protecting himself of, hey, look, if this doesn't sound like my best work, just look at the title. It says I'm stoned, so that's my excuse. So, you take it easy. We will not take it easy if the song does not warrant it. Because that's not what you guys tune in for. You want us to tear these songs apart if they are deserving, and if they're not, then we will celebrate it. I don't know what to expect from the Yogi Stoner song right now, but we're about to find out.
Yogi Stoner song. That's right. Let's go all the way back to 1997 and a little track by Sammy Hagar called "The Yogi So High, I'm Stoned." I gotta say, Mark, right off the hop, musically, I'm not mad at it. I'm kind of digging a little groove in there. It sounded all right.
I'm feeling several things so far. We haven't even really gotten into the song, but I'm already feeling things. What I'm feeling is, I don't know if you heard me, but as soon as that opening blues riff came out, I started thinking, Sammy's doing blues again. So what I said out loud was, uh-oh. Because the last time I'm blanking on the name of it. It wasn't Apolitical Blues, right?
I think it was Apolitical Blues, wasn't it? Yeah.
One of those was Sammy doing his damnedest to sing like a blues bar song with Van Halen, which if David Lee Roth had said, admittedly, if David Lee Roth had been singing this, he could have breathed some real life into it. Because that's more his wheelhouse. And unfortunately, Sammy sounded good in that song, but just when I say that, I mean, he was on pitch. As far as what he did vocally for that song, it was kind of like, this is boring. This is stupid. So right away, my brain has reverted to that moment, hence the uh-oh. But then when the band comes in, it's a little bit more full, so we're getting a better idea. But holy hell, you guys nail whoever it was in the chat that nailed it, saying like, yeah, this is going to be way down tempo, and it was like, yeah, no shit, I didn't expect it to be that down tempo. This is almost like doom metal worthy or stoner rock, whatever. I guess that applies for this particular song. Corey, I'm convinced actually that Sammy was in fact stoned doing this song, recording it even, because this sounds like a song you wrote with your friends where you just got blazed and you got instruments lying around and you go like, let's jam something. And there's only so much you can do depending on how high you are. But that's my first impression. Sammy hasn't even entered the room as far as vocally goes, so I don't know. I don't know what to expect.
You know what? I was sitting there thinking Sammy was getting stoned listening to Sam and Dave or ZZ Top, because immediately I started singing,
Oh,
you
yeah.
didn't have to love me like you did, but you did, but you did. I thank you. Which Jeff Brewer actually put that in the chat too. He gets a really big I thank you vibe. That was the first thing I thought of when that popped up. A little clarification on the Salinas Valley here. That's Sammy Hagar was born in Salinas, California. But Jeff Brewer says, John Steinbeck, famous writer, wrote about the Salinas area of California. Sam is more of a Mill Valley Melville. Which, boom, love that. That was really good. And
There you go. There's a comment of the week.
Yeah. Kevin Brown says it has an almost stoner rock vibe. He digs it. And he's not really a stoner rock vibe type guy. He likes his music more interesting. You know, he likes, 27 fucking minute diatribes about supper being ready. He doesn't usually like just, a simple blues groove. So that's kind of surprising, actually.
Well, Kev's also a prog rock kind of guy. And one thing prog and stoner rock have in common is they go for a very long time. So, but to the credit to the prog rockers, they build, then keep building most of the time. Stoner rock, on the other hand, just tends to stick with like the one riff, the one hook, and then it just kind of keeps going until everyone has had enough. I kind of, but I see where he's coming from, and I kind of dig it as well now that the rest of the band has come in, but I'm also I'm wary. So let's hear what Sammy does vocally on this one.
I felt the earth move, saw the sunrise, knew who the stars shine for. Understood Uspensky, witnessed Velikowski's sunset rising at my door, tracing my footsteps right down that slow lane. I felt so relaxed, so cool. What killed another fool just give me sustain.
So how many stoner rock songs do you know that reference like Russian fucking philosophers?
Most of them.
Oh, really? Oh, I don't
No,
get
I don't
stoned, so I don't know.
I'm sure there's a few. Admittedly, my deep knowledge on all the stoner rocker bands in the world is limited, but I'm sure there's a few that probably bust out some Russian philosophers at some point.
Psychoanalyst, like we have Uspensky and Velikowski. I had to look up Velikowski. He's a Russian American psychoanalyst.
Well.
And catastrophist.
So with that in mind, and with the way Sammy sings, first of all, for me, I'm digging it more now with Sammy coming in, because it subverted whatever expectations I might have had with Sammy singing this particular song. I thought he was just going to come in hot with the the Sammy howl and doing his thing, but no, he comes in very, very softly and very gravelly. It's almost spoken word, but it does match what the music's doing. I'll say that if this was his attempt at doing something like a stoner rock vibe, so far he's nailing it. Also, it's giving me oh man, I just had it, I lost it. I'll get back to it, but I ask you, Corey, what do you think so far in the song, with the lyrics being what they are, and what Sammy's calling out? What do you think he's trying to say?
Nothing. I don't know. I imagine it's kind of like Jeff Spicoli from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, just getting stoned and seeing the world unfold in front of him. And you were mentioning you're a fan of the vocal. I'm not really so much. I thought it was
Really?
it was kind of weak sauce. Jeff Brewer, again, agreeing with me. Holy shit, like this is like twice in the same month. We got to make a note of this or something. But he says a little pretentious, if you ask him. And I can kind of get that. It's a little bit, and bringing up, Uspensky and Velikowski and stuff. It's almost like if Mr. Hand and Jeff Spicoli from Fast Times got like really stoned, and we're like just like talking like, oh man, I felt the earth move, saw the sun rise. But it's intellectual too, because you got Mr. Hand there too. So who, again, probably my favorite part of Fast Times is the relationship between Jeff Spicoli and Mr. Hand. Go watch Fast Times at Ridgemont High. That's what I'm saying. The song kind of lost me once Sammy started singing, which surprises me because that doesn't usually happen.
Maybe this is Sammy's attempt at an early Leonard Cohen.
Ooh, there you go.
I mean, obviously he doesn't have like the that deep baritoneness because I don't think Sammy smokes like a freight train. Or if he does, then he's
smoking something.
He's keeping his throat well cared for at least. But yeah, those are kind of the vibes I'm getting. Just like a little bit of that and some other. I had a great example and it's already left my brain. If it comes back, I'll let you know. But I get it though. This is probably not going to be everybody's cup of tea. So far, I actually kind of like the difference as opposed to what we normally get out of Sammy Hagar, you know?
All right.
So I'm, again, optimistic. This could all fizzle out real hard, though.
All right, let's get back to her.
So I'll just watch the mountains grow, listen to the wind lie to me, digging them changes on the radio, craving some cool water. I'm dying of thirst like some fool salted my circumcision.
Like some fool salted my circumcision?
Wait, what? I'm sorry, we
Oh.
can't go past that.
Kevin Brown, if you're making notes for Rock Court, you're going to have to defend this one. Like some fool salted my circumcision.
Oh boy, like what in the shit? Okay, hang on. Let's try and figure this out.
You're a brother of the weed with Sammy, right? If you were stoned right now, what would you...
I'm craving some cool water. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm dying of thirst. Well, yeah, naturally. Like some fool salted my circumcision. What are you talking? You lost me. What did you have to bring your bris for? I don't need to know about that. Nobody needs to know about that. Like what is a salt? First of all, what is a salted circumcision? That's an honest question. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know what that is.
If someone's salting your circumcision, that's going to fucking hurt like hell.
Yeah, in my brain, that's what it sounds like. It's like, are you suggesting that you were circumcised and someone poured salt on it? Because holy shit, that sounds like the worst torture imaginable. But again, this line just comes out of nowhere, it seems, and maybe not. Maybe for some people are going, well, yeah, look at the rest of the lyrics. It's nonsensical. Why wouldn't he say that? I'm like, well, okay, but give me more. I figured out who I was thinking. It sounds like Sammy's attempt at the Doors.
Okay. Yep.
You know, just a little bit, not full on the Doors, but if you hear, you know, some of their songs, and admittedly, I'm not a super fan, so I can't list 1,000 examples, but to me, it's got a very Doors vibe.
Oh yeah, no, I could see it.
Which is that's fine, I guess. They're not my favorite band, but I can't get past this line, like some fool salted my circumcision. I guess that's what he's talking about. Like he's talking about being in such pain, but he's talking about thirst. So how is a salted circumcision making you thirsty?
Mark,
if anything,
I got to say, I think the secret is stop thinking about it because he's stoned, right? What's the byline of the song? I'm stoned. It's literally in the title of the song. Kevin Brown says it's just stream of consciousness, nonsense lyrics. But even at that, like I said, I don't get high. Do you just ever like sit around and get stoned and think, man, you're just like salting my circumcision. You're harshing my buzz.
I have some pretty outrageous thoughts when I'm stoned, but at no point have I ever been like, you're harshing my vibe so hard, it's like you're salting my circumcision. Because if I said that out loud and I heard myself say it, I would go, what the fuck does that even mean? What? before anybody else could stop me, before anyone go like, wait, Mark, what did you just say? I would go, I don't know what that was. Like, please disregard, because it's nonsense. It's more than nonsense. It's stupid. I'm saying it. That line is stupid. That's why I'm feeling a Doors vibe, because yes, you're right, Kevin. Stream of consciousness, nonsense lyrics, and a lot of Doors songs are like that because Jim Morrison was on peyote all the time.
Yeah.
So like I'm sure he saw some crazy shit, but too bad he couldn't make better lyrics. Anyway, not here to bash the Doors. It's fine. Corey, everyone in the chat, everyone listening who tell me repeatedly how much I'm wrong for liking Sammy over Dave, and you point to his lyrics. Have at it with this one. I'm not going to defend it because I can't, because I don't know what I don't know, Corey, if I'm going to be able to get past that one line as the rest of the song goes, because I'm so baffled by whatever the hell that is.
Scott Monroe says it's possible Sammy was going for a metaphoric circumcision, excuse me, and God help us. So I think that's
what's a metaphoric
exactly.
Like, what is that? I don't even want to entertain whatever that might be.
Circumcisions are already pretty unpleasant. When you add salt, it gets worse. Jeff Brewer says the Beatnik wannabe stuff blows. Yep. Dan says salt my circumcision and then put the cream in my coffee. There we go. Sammy Hagar. It's quite the wordsmith, ladies and gentlemen. The Tom Armbruster says I Googled it and there is no other definition for circumcision. So
it's like, I mean, I suppose we can go through the rest of the song with the acknowledgement. I think I'm right, Corey. I think I'm right. When they recorded this, he was very, very stoned, and he let us know in the title, "Hey, man, I'm here. I am lifted, and whatever happens, whatever I say, whatever I play is just what it is." Cool, but also weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Josh says the wheel can only go up from here.
Let's hope.
Not a fan.
Let's hope. This is not a good start. All the positives that I had are now like gone. So
Dan says the wheel owes us something up tempo next week, regardless of whose album it comes from. Amen. Could not agree more. All right, let's get back to that high Yogi. Okay, and the Yogi so high, but the difference is little differences. I've never been so high. Only difference is little differences. Mark, you look like you're in pain.
For the people, for the people that can't see what I'm face palming really hard because my oh no at the beginning was justified, and that's a shame because I don't know what the hell Sammy's talking about. Like, and I get it. He's stoned. It's in the title. I know that, but just because you're stoned doesn't mean you gotta record yourself doing nonsensical things and then pass that off as a song. Like, no, this is just a ramble. Take it from me. I know about rambling. This is a ramble. This is a stoner ramble, and not all stoner rambles need to be recorded and put out for mass consumption. Sometimes you can get away with it, but Sammy, we gotta have a conversation, my dude.
I'm pretty sure Sammy's like, what? You put that on the record? Fuck, I was so stoned. I don't even remember cutting that thing. Like, oh my God.
He probably didn't care. He was just like, hey, well, how many tracks do we need on it? How many do we got?
12.
Oh. Yeah. Okay, cool. Go ahead.
Put it in slot number 9. That's where you hide a song, right? Slot 9 out of 12. 10 in the chat says, I'm pretty sure the chorus just confirmed, don't overthink anything in this song. And David Lassiter with the comment of the night, it somehow gets worse after the salted circumcision.
I didn't think it was possible, but yeah, it has gotten worse. And look, I know we're not supposed to overthink it, but guys, that's what we do here. We're analyzing the song for you and for us. And I'm just really wishing we weren't on this song because this is so far not good.
Well, and if we're digging into the chorus, it's not a great chorus. You got, well, lyrically it's stupid, but the differences is little differences. It's a very kind of, it's not a very melodic chorus. You have that kind of hard stop and then start again. You have the I've never been so high, which is fine melodically. And then you get into the difference thing, and it just kind of throws the whole thing off. Like even as it's constructed as a chorus, it's not very good. Lyrics obviously idiotic, but it's not a catchy chorus. And I kind of go to Sammy, for catchy choruses. Even something like Up for Breakfast, you can say the lyrics are stupid, but at least musically, like it's kind of catchy. I'm not getting that from this. Yeah, there's a hook. There's not really a hook here. Poor Kevin Brown, I got to say. You're not helping my fucking rockcore case here, fellas. I'm going to have to cook up a whole lot of bullshit to defend this. Because Jeff Bruce says he should think about including some of this in his opening statement.
Kevin, I hope to God you weren't using this song as like a reference point, because you might as well just set your case on fire.
I know who Heath McCoy's first witness is to, his first expert witness, and God help Kevin Brown if he'd ever heard this song. But Josh in the chat says, those lyrics just got drafted in the first round of the nonsensical lyric draft. Scott Monroe says, Kevin will need to file a motion to have this song impounded from the court record. I don't know if I'll allow that. I'm the judge in the case. So I don't know if I'm going to allow that. I can't wait for season 2. We'll get Mark to be a judge on there too. But I'm presiding over this case. No,
you're all screwed if I'm the judge.
I think everything in Marching to Mars is fair game. David Lassiter, Jackie Childs couldn't defend this, and if you get Jackie Childs, you're all right in my book.
Oh, David Lassiter, bravo!
He is on fire tonight. Thank you, David, for joining us in the chat.
Yeah, that was. Oh, all right. Actually, Jackie could probably find something to talk about that would distract you from the actual case. Because you're right. Yeah. I don't think he could defend the song.
She was just walking down the street in a bra. Jeff Brewer, motion to exclude. Not sure if there would be any grounds. No, I don't think there would be. But all right, let's get back to Sammy's fever dream, shall we?
Yeah.
Jesus, I think he was stoned when he cut that solo too. Oh my God!
I was gonna say that's him doing the solo, right? Because he's the only
credited guitar player on the track that I could see. So,
you know what's funny? It started off not bad, and then it derailed. Like you almost can hear him get stuck, and he didn't know what to do next. So he kept repeating, and then he tried something new, and it's just like you went real sloppy there, Sammy. But
oh man!
But again, what did he tell us? He's stoned. Yeah. I will. I do. In spite of it all, I got really entertained by the "I swear I'm there, I'm stoned." He just he progressively goes up the notes, so he kind of goes up the scale. And I appreciate it, especially seeing stoned and with a high note, or not super high. I like that progression. The lyrics are fucking dumb, and it's just I get it. We get it. We all get it. You're stoned, Sammy. Cool. You don't got to tell us 50,000 times, because guess what? The song's not even close to being done. So it's
we're halfway, roughly halfway through.
Oh Jesus. Not a great solo. It started off okay, and then it got sloppy, but I mean, Sammy's never been the lead guitar player guy. I mean, he has his moments, but he's not Eddie, and he's going to be unfairly just compared. And he's definitely not. He's not Vi. He's not Satriani. And unfortunately, with his association, he's going to be compared to him. But don't do that because Sammy's not that type of guitar player. However, him doing this solo does not help that case because stop it. You're struggling enough as it is on this track, Sammy. Like because you are stoned. Did I get that right? And now you want to throw in like some blues riffage, solo. I don't do that. You're not that guy. You shouldn't have done it. That's what I'll say about this solo.
That's interesting though, because I don't know a lot of Sammy's solo output. Does he take? I don't know if he's really the lead guy on those. Right? He usually has another guitar that takes like the solos and stuff. I don't know if he does a lot of solos.
That's what I always thought.
Yeah, I thought exactly. He was more of the rhythm guy. So, after listening to that, I totally understand why, because he sucks at it. Kevin Brown says, "Christ, these lyrics have all the subtlety of a well-aimed half brick." Jeff Burr says, "At least he didn't say stone-balled sugar daddy." Dan,
I don't know. I'm looking ahead in the lyrics. You sure?
Yeah, it may be coming up.
Okay,
yeah,
he didn't say it.
Dan says, "Kevin, considering changing teams in Rockcourt yet?" Which Kevin, at least Kevin is low, says, "Dan, never, can't wait." Jeff Burr says that solo should not be credited to anybody. Sounded like Lil Wayne level talent.
Oof
is bad.
I'm sure our Lil Wayne fans in the chat will how dare you, but I'm not one of them, so play on.
Tom points out, hey, one bad song isn't going to collapse an empire. There you go. Sammy's still A-okay in my books, even if this song maybe not so much. I'm hoping Josh retypes in his comics. He had a good one to the effect of Corey Feldman said that solo was fire.
My God.
If anyone saw the Corey Feldman solo on YouTube, you'll get that. David Lassiter says, heavy neck pickup on that solo, Mark. Did you pick up on that?
Heavy neck pickup on the solo? It sounded like he had his tremolo like all the way up, or either all the way up or all the way down. I'll be honest with you. I rarely fuck with my tremolo, so sometimes I can't spot the difference. Something's going on. I'll just I'll take your word for it.
And finally, before we get back to the song, Dan says, wait, is Sammy stoned here? Cut the subtle beating around the bush and just come out and say it.
I mean, he did. He said it repeatedly, and it's in the title.
I think he was being facetious, Mark.
Well, so am I. But no, it's subtleties. What did we learn in our journey? Sometimes subtleties don't quite land with Sammy like they do Dave.
That's very true. All right, let's get back to her.
First the silence, then the heat, then fear sets in. Afraid you're gonna get an answer you don't wanna hear. The truth puts blisters on my skin. Jesus. Now I got a problem with this whole concept, you see. Ain't no beginning, no end. It seems like every time I think I've arrived, a whole new trip begins. The difference is, should I say, the problem is.
Oh, dear Lord, what is this? First the silence, then the heat, then fear sets in. Afraid you're going to get an answer you don't want to hear. The truth puts blisters on my skin. Now I got a problem with this whole concept, you see. Ain't no beginning, no end. It seems like every time I think I've arrived, a whole new trip begins.
A trip meaning like a stony trip? Because I don't know. I think you've had too much, Sammy. I think it's time to take a break.
Kevin Brown thinks he's referencing the Dark Tower. Mark, you ever read the Dark Tower?
No, I have not. I want to. It's on my list of things to do.
He says,
I know they made a movie not that long ago. That was
the movie was terrible. Yeah, I saw the movie. Yeah. It was shit. But he says, "Ka is a wheel after all." I go, okay. And Jeff says, now it sounds like a Whitesnake song. I haven't heard a lot of bad Whitesnake songs like this though. But sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't go that far. But
It's no slide it in. I'll give you that. But Scott Monroe says Sammy is honest to a fault at times, and I think it's likely these nonsense lyrics did organically pour out of him while he was high, verbatim. So maybe he had just like a tape recorder, and he just fired up the bong and just hit record, and just whatever he kind of spewed out, he wrote a song around.
Sometimes you can get lucky. Some people are so creative that they can get themselves elevated in some form and come out with some pretty monumental creative things. But sometimes, like the rest of us, if we are elevated, then it's just nonsense. It's going to be nonsense most of the time. This is one of those situations where I feel like the latter happened to Sammy. It's like, you thought it was a good idea, and in theory, it was a good idea. In practice, it didn't work this time. Try next time.
Exactly. Try next time. David Laster says, like a really bad entry in a poetry slam.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah. All right. Oh, we got what? Minute and a half? Let's see if we can finish this guy off here.
I've never been so high. Only difference is, little differences. And a yogi so high. But the difference is, little differences. I'm stoned. Stone cold.
All right, let's go to the chat real quick. Josh actually said this is very much like Slow and Easy by Whitesnake, which I didn't pick up on. So good job, Josh, calling that out. That's great. Dan Papathopoulos again with a great comment. Sometimes pot results in Aerosmith's Sweet Emotion, and sometimes it results in this. So that's kind of the journey you get with the marijuana. When you're going to take your last dance with Mary Jane, you're either going to get Sweet Emotion or you're going to get the Yogi So Fucking High.
Well, leave that poor Yogi alone and just leave him be. Just go about your business.
Now, Mark, I got to ask you, would it be better if it was Yogi Bear? If Yogi Bear was so high?
No, that
you
would
could
make
tell
it
some
weirder.
waka waka jokes, like that'd be all right.
Waka waka.
That was his thing.
Bear.
Waka waka. Yeah. I'm thinking
that's
Fozzie.
Fozzie Bear. That's
Yeah.
a Muppet.
Yogi was
Yogi
Boo Boo's
Bear
friend.
was a cartoon.
Yogi was Boo Boo's friend. I want it to be more like Fozzie.
That
though.
maniac was hanging out in the woods stealing picnic baskets, and the freaking the park rangers all like, "Oh, that pesky bear!" And like, pesky bear? He's a bear. Like, pesky bear? What the hell? What do you expect him to do?
Oh, I love that. See, I'm so high.
You've had that whiskey.
I've had a lot of whiskey. That's why I mixed up my bears. I miss Fozzie Bear. Can we do a Muppets podcast instead of this?
I would love that. By the way, you guys, however you feel about the Disney Plus app, forget it. Just go watch the Electric Mayhem show. It's delightful.
Yogi So High AIR coming right up. Thank you, Scott Monroe.
God.
I can't remember. How's the ride doing there, Corey? Well, I tell you what, it's. I started with like a full bottle. Fuck, I'm down. I'm down to about a third. Yeah. Oh my God, the Yogi's so drunk.
Let's put this song out of its misery, shall we?
All right, let's do her. Oh, good, a 30-second fade out.
Oh, it's a real slow one, too.
My goodness. Jeff Burr said, I should have put Standing Hampton on the wheel instead. Imagine an entire verse about picnic baskets. Like, how cool would that have been? Yogi Bear so high.
I guess. Well, yeah, I guess that makes sense. See, oh shit, that's what the song should have been. It should have been about Yogi Bear. Sammy's stoned at the park and he's having a picnic because, of course, he is. And then Yogi Bear shows up and is like woo 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 and like takes his basket and like, holy shit, a bear. And that would have been a much more entertaining song than whatever the hell
Whatever the
Yogi
fuck
So
that
High
was, yeah.
whatever the hell this was. Do I have to? All right, I'll do it. I'll ask. I was like, I think I know the answer, but I'll go ahead and ask. So, this is our second song of the new wheel. We had an interesting start with Distance and followed it up with the Yogi So High, I'm Stoned by Sammy Hagar. Corey, would you say that being so high as Sammy is, it feels just like paradise, or are you so blazed that you trip over your own foot and there you have it, your dick's in the dirt? What say you?
I've had a lot of whiskey. I hope I don't hit the wrong button. Come on. Like, I was with this song the first 20 seconds, but it was just that kind of blues groove. I'm like, all right, I'll give Sammy another try with the blues. Like, Sammy's a really talented fellow. Apolitical blues didn't work. But, you know, if we're going to go with a blues stance on this one, you know, I'm down for it. And then the motherfucker started singing. And I was, oh, God. Like, you know, his tone was bad. Like Jeff said, it sounded pretentious. I thought that was a great comment. I agree with that. Lyrically, this thing is just stupid. So, yeah, stream of conscious while he's stoned, I totally get that. Doesn't make it good. And certainly doesn't make it anything I want to listen to. Musically, it was okay. I wasn't a big fan of the chorus, like how that was structured. The solo was really bad. But melodically in the I'm So High was okay. Like musically, there was some okay stuff, but definitely not enough to save this thing. To me, this is its dick is knocked in the dirt all day long. Mark Meyer, we go to you now. Are we going to be unanimous on this one? Is this just like Paradise, or is the dick knocked in the dirt?
I, like you, I was 20 seconds in. Yeah, like the first start of the song, I go, okay, that's weird. It's interesting, but fine, fair enough. This is why I like to be cautiously optimistic. The key word in that is cautious. And I was right to be cautious because sure enough, the song, whatever optimism I felt that the song could deliver on, it for me, it did not. It fell apart real quick. If I had to point to a moment to where it really fell apart, you guessed it. I'm still not over the like some fool salted my circumcision line. I don't know what the hell that is. I don't know what that means. I don't like the implication of what that means. So I'm just gonna leave it, but just know I will never forget it. So if there's one thing I can say about this song that is memorable, it's that line. It's certainly not what Sammy's doing vocally. And I didn't have a problem with it at first, but then like, as the further the song kept going, the less the charm, the charm just wore off. Whatever charm there was for me, it wore off. This is, you guys were right. It's nonsensical bullshit because Sammy's stoned, and he did, in his defense, he did warn us ahead of time before we even press play. It's right there in the title. So you have to go into it with that thought process of knowing what you're getting into. And Sammy let you know exactly what you were getting into. The problem is he didn't exactly tell you what you were in for. He just simply let you know, hey, by the way, I was stoned when I wrote this song. I even put it in the title. So there you go. And that could go so many different ways. As we mentioned, just because you're having an artistic expression and you're being enhanced by something doesn't mean that it's good what you're putting out, like you said, Corey. And also as fans, and I'm a big fan of Sammy Hagar, but it doesn't mean I have to like every single thing he does. I did not. I thought maybe I could enjoy this. I did not enjoy this whatsoever. So unfortunately, that is our first dick in the dirt unanimous vote for the Yogi So High parentheses I'm stoned. Sammy maybe should have gone back to the drawing board on this one. Maybe put the blunt down. I don't know.
Yeah. Let's go to the chat and we'll get their votes here. Kevin Brown says, I kind of dig that song musically, but lyrically it's lazy and stupid. A big uncut dick in the dirt for him.
Let's see what you did there. Good. Way to go, Kev.
Way to go, Kev. Dan says, guitar solo, meh. The rest of the music I kind of like. Can't get past the subject matter or lyrics. Dick in the dirt for him.
Yep.
Well said. David Laster says, tough to think of a worse song lyrically, which prompted Kevin Brown to say, Sammy or all-time David, I can give you a few. Remember, this guy's researching lyrics like crazy right now.
You might want to hold off on doing that, Kevin, until you have your day in court.
And then David Laster says, and that's saying something because Sammy also wrote Spanked. Thank you very much. Easily one of his worst lyrical efforts in Spanked.
I can enjoy Up for Breakfast for what it is, and I know full well it's a stupid song. We've talked ad nauseum about it, but it makes me laugh, and also, at least it has hooks.
Yeah.
So that one can be, I think that one can be forgiven. But yeah, I agree. This one I think takes the cake of being the worst I've heard from Sammy so far.
Dan says, on a positive note, as best as I can remember, having listened to the majority of this album in years, we have the worst of Marching to Mars behind us. So he's thinking this is maybe the worst one off this album, which would be great. Get that out of the way.
Thank the gods.
Scott Monroe, who's always super positive, says, I dig the groove in the verses, and I'm debating whether I can look past the lyrics. So he's really searching for positives. It's kind of like instant replay in football. If you got to slow it down to milliseconds to make a call, then there's no call. If you got to really hunt for something positive in this song, there's nothing there. It's a dick in the dirt. So yeah, maybe quit looking. But Mark Meyer.
That's that's what I did.
Oh my goodness. It's time to play. How many times did Sammy Hagar perform this salted circumcision live in concert? We're going to include.
For fuck's sakes, I hope it was zero.
Well,
I really hope the number is zero.
Because I'm playing the song, it means it was played at least once. But we're also going to include not just Sammy Hagar solo, but any band he may have been a part of. Sammy and the Wabos, Sammy and the Circle, Chickenfoot. If anybody associated with Sammy Hagar performed the salted circumcision, the Yogi So High, I'm Stoned, we're going to include it here tonight. So I'm going to vamp here for a little bit to let all of our fine patrons in the chat chime in with their guesses. Remember, we're doing the honor system. There's no prizes here, unlike The Price is Right, where you could win yourself a nice dinette set or something. Mark gets nothing if he gets this right. Just some bragging rights, maybe some self-esteem. I don't know. He's usually quite bad at this game. He was pretty good near the end of the Van Halen run, but he didn't do too well last week, and now we have another opportunity here. The Yogi So High, I'm Stoned. No votes coming in from the chat yet. Mark Meyer, kind of talk it out. How many times do you think? Oh, Scott Monroe says 420 times. Sammy performs a lot. So that may not be so out to lunch. So what are you thinking, Mark? You're thinking Sammy. You remember this came out in 97? Kevin Brown says 3. So, David Laster says 0.00. Kevin Brown says 3. Scott Monroe's at 420. Dan is at 11. What are you thinking, Mark?
I'm thinking if you're giving him the wide berth of whenever, it doesn't matter what iteration of Sammy's performance, as long as they did this song. So I'm just curious about what the Montrose version sounds like. No, but I know Sammy performs a lot, but I can't imagine out of his extensive catalog that this one would have to be a priority for the list, unless Sammy just has this unnatural love for this particular stoner anthem, and he may, artists are weird like that sometimes. Okay, so I think 400 times, like Scott said, I think that is absurd, but he's probably not wrong. I'm gonna say I can't imagine you play this song, because even if Sammy did love the song, it's such a dud. Like it would break the momentum of his set. So I'm gonna go ahead and say an optimistic, very generous 10 times.
10 times?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Mark Meyer, I got to give you one of these. We're going Price is Right rules. The correct answer, or the closest, would be Dan Papathopoulos, who said 11. The correct answer is 47 times.
Ugh.
46 times as a solo artist, 1 time with Sammy and the Wabos. So it was first performed May 1997, last performed September 8th, 2001 at the Riverport Amphitheater in Maryland Heights in the good old US of A. So I guess, Dan, you win it here tonight. You were, 400 off, but still you came in under. Scott Monroe just a little bit over at 420.
just a little bit. Well, I thought I was being generous with 10 times, but
because apparently 420 marijuana.
I see.
Yeah,
I see.
These squares aren't picking up on your 420 reference. No, we just thought he was an idiot. So I guess he's a clever idiot. There you go, Scott.
I am of that stoner level. I'm past such things. It's like 420.
420.
I remember my first doobie. That's fine.
And I'm not a stoner, so I didn't pick up on that. No, I'm sorry.
Man, you got that legal stuff up there too. What's wrong with you?
I know, right? I got pot shops down the road from me, but tried it once. It's like, that's not so good.
Get you some edibles. Just some edibles.
Tried that too. My wife actually OD'd on edibles and was fucking seeing things for an hour and just freaked out about everything. That was a scary night.
Well, you gotta pay attention to the milligrams and the dosage. There are people who work at these places to let you know. So if they didn't do that, that's on them. You're a bad medicinal weed clerk.
In fairness, we have a mutual friend in British Columbia who goes by the name of Thomas Rissling, who sent me some stuff and was very adamant, only take this much. My wife didn't get that memo though. And she was I took a third of one and I felt nothing. I better eat 3 more. And then just fucking everything went nuts on her. So,
boy, no, that is a rookie error. And now she knows better. But again, if there's anyone's just a special shout out, if you're going to take advice on anything THC related, listen to Thomas Rissling. Yes. He knows a thing or two about a thing or two. Man, I miss that guy. So there you go, man. We've got another one down. Luckily, it's one we got out of the way. We don't need to rehash that one for a long, long time. I'm sure we'll talk about it again when we finish this particular album, but that is a long way from now. So for the time being, we don't have to think about Sammy being high unless by some twist of fate, the rest of this album, wait a minute. Okay. Is Marching to Mars just like a stoner album? Is that what it is? Is that why it's called Marching to Mars? Is he just blitzed out of his mind for the entirety of this album?
Well, have you seen some of the song titles? We have Salvation on Sandhill.
Yes.
Who Has the Right? Would You Do It for Free? Leaving the Warmth of the Womb, the Yogi So High, Amnesty is Granted, Marching to Mars. It very well could be.
That's why I asked, because it just dawned on me, oh no, I think we might be in for some more bullshit with this album, and that makes me unfortunately not want to manifest anything from Sammy with this album. I'm gonna do it again, of course, but I mean, I'll do it with a slight bad taste in my mouth because of what this song has decided to do. It made me salty. It didn't salt my circumcision, but it made me salty. Just of why would you write that? Why would you put that out? Come on, man. You're better than this. You're better than this, Sammy. It's fine. It's fine. What was that comment there?
What kind of edible made her do that for science purposes? Of course, I don't remember what kind of edible it was, but we got rid of them after that night. Oh, sorry, it's not Kama, it's Kama. Phonetically, it's his daughter's name. So pretty sure that one's not going to be about pot or getting stoned. So there you go, Mark. That might be good.
Well, hopefully then with that context, that'll be a very sweet song. Let's hope. Let's hope.
Yeah, he's certainly capable of it.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, that's done. That's out of the way. Corey, have we done it? Have we successfully done another show?
I think so. Dan sums it up well. This album didn't exactly show the Van Halen brothers who's the boss, coming right after the breakup. We'll find out. This is only the first track, so hopefully we got better times ahead. But before we call it a night here, Mark, I got to do the pod roll of all of our good friends at the Deep Dive Podcast Network and all of our friends. I thought I'd maybe mix it up a little bit and play a little different music underneath when I do this. So if you'll bear with me, I'm going to do a little this. Oh, that's right. It's time for the pod roll. Here we go. You can catch out some great podcasts like The Ultimate Catalog Clash featuring myself and Kevin Brown. Getting ready for Season 4. We just broke down the Foo Fighters. Coming up, we have Dire Straits. Check out that coming soon. Kevin Brown also does a little show called The Tom Petty Project and Seaside Pod Review with the one and only Randy Woods. Our good friend Scott Haskin, who's about to go see Deep Purple with the Deep Purple Podcast Boys. He's in Michigan right now. He does a show called The Magicians Podcast. He also does a show called The Haskin Cast you should check out. Then we have Nate and John at the aforementioned Deep Purple Podcast. The Simple Man at Skinner Reconsidered. Terry T-Bone Mathley at T-Bone's Prime Cuts. Rye at Sabbath Bloody Podcast. Paul, Joe, and David at In the Lap of the Pods. Andy and Matt at Hawk Binge. Eric and Jonathan at Maiden A to Z. Daniel and Josh at Diary of the Madman, the Ultimate Aussie Podcast. Ben and Sam at Universally Speaking, the Red Hot Chili Peppers Podcast. George and Hattie at the Judas Priest Cast. Clay and Rye at North by South Podcast. Greg and Jonathan at So Far, So Pod, So What. Quinn and Volume for All. Sav, Nick, Steve, and Mark at the Rock Roulette Podcast. Chaz and Greg at Regarding Lulu. Chaz and Shats at Rush Rash. Chaz and Wolfie at Regarding Roger Waters. Chaz, Scott, and Wolfie again at Regarding Van Halen 3. It's the show that's getting all the press. Go check out that show. Rewind to 1984 podcast, the Sean Geek and Fast Red podcast. I hear Chaz Charles is going to be on the next episode of that, so you don't want to miss that. Then we have our good friends at the DLR Cast, the Bogus Oda Show, Booked on Rock with the legendary Eric Senich, You're All Doomed, a Friday the 13th podcast, Spinning the Wheel podcast, Dissect That Film, Three's Company Tour Rewatch podcast, the Nerf Herder Council, Talking Into Infinity, and the one and only Pod of Thunder, the recognized symbol of excellence in rock and roll podcasting.
So you'll never be bored of or never be wanting for any rock music podcasts, for sure. Come to the Deep Dive Podcasting Network and find it, because they've got you covered. Or does Corey need to roll that list out for you again? He will, but not till next week. So be sure to check out all of those shows or some of those shows. I guarantee if you like what we do, you will enjoy them. Be sure to go over to podcastwillrock.com. All the backlog episodes of the previous iteration of the show, they're all there. Links to all the social medias, of course, and the merch store. Get yourself some merch. We're in a new season of the show, new iteration, so there is likely to be some fun new designs coming down the pipeline. So be sure to check out the store and get caught up on that when it happens. And it helps. It helps us keep the light on, you know, and we appreciate that. We appreciate all of you guys for listening. Thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for continuing to help us grow. And we will, despite some, you know, having our dicks in the dirt on occasion, we will rise up like a phoenix from the ashes, and we will be, you know, I don't know. We'll continue to be optimistic. How about that? Cautiously optimistic, of course, so that we're never surprised. But with that being said, on behalf of Corey and myself, we are, and the podcast will rock. And we will rock you later.